So today CPW has given me the opportunity to talk about my favourite match or moment in CPW history. So of course I'm going to talk about the biggest moment that I had in CPW, and that is winning the CPW Heavyweight Championship at History 6. But before we get to that moment, I just want to give a little backstory to how we got to that night and how I was feeling leading up to that match. So it started around February time. Mr. Richards got in touch with me and CPW management got in touch with me and they said, "Niall Fairchild, will you come back and be a special guest appearance in the elimination match?" Now, bear in mind, I hadn't been in the ring for 12 to 18 months at that point, but I couldn't resist. I leapt at the chance. I've missed CPW from the moment I left it. It wasn't really a personal choice, it was forced upon me. So to come back, I jumped at the chance. Now, coming back in that elimination, it was all kept very quiet. Not many people knew about it, because obviously we wanted it to be a surprise. And I wanted to be a surprise for you fans. I mean, you've been good to me since the day I walked into CPW. But I did wonder, after being gone for so long, will the CPW Galaxy, will they remember Niall Fairchild? Will they care that Niall Fairchild is returning? And I kid you not, the moment that I walked through them curtains and looked out at all of you, the reaction I got gave me goosebumps. It was one of the loudest reactions I've ever heard in CPW, and that's when I knew I had to come back. And so I did. I started to return and I started training. I started in the next gen, started in the new blood, just to get the reps back, hopefully building towards what we were building before I left, which was to become CPW champion. I've always wanted to be the best, and I've always wanted to do it with CPW Galaxy, so it only seemed right that we continued that quest together. Now, coming back, obviously it'd been 12-18 months, I was still a bit rusty. And I lost the first couple of matches, and I'm not ashamed to say that. I think sometimes when you lose, you can learn more than a win. And I believe I did do that. And we started building momentum. I got my first win against the Dragon, and it came out of nowhere. People were shocked, but that started building something. Together, we were stronger. And I really built on that. And that's why, as you can see on my top, strength through unity. Me and the CPW Galaxy would form this bond. It was symbiotic. We just worked together. I fed off you and you fed off me, and it was great. And just as things were starting to go well, someone returned who I had a deep hatred for, and that man was Tom Lindsay. A man whose accolades I don't need to tell you about. He's one of the most decorated champions in CPW to date. I had a bone to pick with him. He was the reason why I was forced out for 12 to 18 months. He attacked me for no reason at all. And you know, I sat and watched CPW build while I was gone. I sat on the sidelines, I watched the social media grow, I watched new superstars come. And I kept thinking, why? Why would Tom Lindsay do this to me? And the only plausible reason I came up with was because he was scared of the potential that I had. At the time, he was the CPW Heavyweight Champion. Maybe he was worried. Maybe he saw that I was coming for that championship, so he stopped it while he could. So when Tom Lindsay returned to CPW, I was a man possessed. I wanted Tom Lindsay. And I did things maybe that I'm not proud of. I went up to our general manager, Dominic De Winter. Maybe I pushed him around a bit with the help of Morris. And we got a tag team match against Tom Lindsay and Isaac Quinton III. And that didn't go to plan. I lost that match because I was too angry. But I got a second chance, and this would be at History 6. Me versus Tom Lindsay, one-on-one. And I could not wait for that chance. This was a moment almost 2 years in the making. I was ready for that match. And the week before, it became a triple threat match for the CPW Heavyweight Championship, adding in Kevin Isaac. Now, I saw this as a chance to kill two birds with one stone. I could get my revenge on Tom Lindsay for putting me out, and I could also win that elusive CPW gold that I've been searching for the moment I walked through the doors. Now, leading up to the match, we had Rene Dupree come in, very thankful for him to come in, and he ran a seminar. During that seminar, I actually banged up my leg quite bad, so I was struggling to walk, but obviously as a wrestler, these are the sort of things that you're used to, and you carry on, and there was no way that I was going to pull out in my chance for redemption. There's no way I was going to let down the CPW Galaxy. So, I was backstage, and I was on just after the start of the second half. So, as the first half ended, we went to interval. I went into what we call the gorilla position, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. Sometimes things don't go to plan. Sometimes intervals take longer than we think. So I was probably there for around 20-30 minutes, just going over my thoughts, my tactics for the match, how I was going to win, what I was going to do, backup plans, everything I could. And then we had a performance by Shorty and Dirty Wolves. So by the time it actually comes to the match, I was actually quite nervous, but I was ready. Because I've been waiting for so long, I was like just bouncing around the room. I wanted to get out there, I wanted to get out to CPW Galaxy. And I wanted to get it done. I wanted to get business done. I wanted to destroy Tom Lindsay, and I wanted to pick up CPW gold in the process, and that would be the perfect night for me. So, I also had a lot of family out there waiting for me. A lot of them hadn't seen me wrestle before, so the nerves were up. The pressure was, the highest probably stakes that I've been in CPW. I had one of the most momentous champions in Tom Lindsay. He's a Hall of Famer. He will be eventually. His accolades speak for himself. You've got Kevin Isaac of G6, so, G6 could come in. Kevin Isaac is obviously a good wrestler himself. So he was more than capable of causing me damage. They could team up against me. And I had the pressure of all my family watching me. But to me, that pressure, that's what I thrive off. That moment, just before you step out in between the curtain, you get maybe 10-15 seconds, your music hits, and that to me, that's my peaceful time, my time to do it, to reflect. It's weird, unless you actually experience that, it's hard to communicate what I'm trying, that experience. I walked out to a massive reaction, as always with CPW Galaxy, and then I got sidetracked because Tom Lindsay came out, and I was just ready to smash his head in, to put it simply. But I kept my composure. We waited for Kevin Isaac to come out. He came out with Dominic De Winter. So, the match was set. We were ready. And then Kevin Isaac came over, gave me a big slap. Yeah, which stung, but I took it because really I wanted Tom Lindsay. Kevin Isaac was second priority. I wanted Tom Lindsay first. But then he decided to give it to Tom Lindsay, and we know that Tom Lindsay doesn't play fair. So he kicked him in the nuts, and we pinned him, and we eliminated Kevin Isaac within 30 seconds of the match starting. Now, just as I was getting ready to attack Tom Lindsay to get my retribution, Dominic De Winter came out from the curtain. And it was a very hot day, probably the hottest day of CPW history. He came out with Kevin Isaac on the entrance, eating an ice cream. By this point he was that shocked. The ice cream was over his face. It was hard not to laugh, because it was funny. But I had a job to do, and that was to destroy Tom Lindsay, avenge what he'd done to me, and win the CPW Heavyweight Championship. And boy, did we do that. It was a hard match, and it might possibly be the best match that I've ever had in CPW, and I believe that because of the crowd that night, how you reacted to me, how you spurred me on. I believe it because of the anger that I had, the passion that I wanted to beat Tom Lindsay. I wanted to win the Heavyweight Championship for me and for the CPW Galaxy. And eventually, after hitting him with 3 natural disasters, Dale counted the 1, 2, 3. And now, if we've got the footage, I know I've got it, one of my friends recorded it, you hear the crowd erupt. And that it's normal after a match for the winner, for the crowd, if he's a good guy, you get the reaction. what shocked me about this reaction was that it went on for at least 30 seconds to a minute of just non-stop screaming and cheering. And that is the greatest moment that I've ever had in CPW. To get to experience winning my first ever championship, and it being the prestigious CPW Heavyweight Championship, in front of my friends and family and all of the CPW Galaxy in a sold out event, in the biggest event of CPW's history 6. And I thank you very much for all the support you showed me in then on, and I hope you're staying safe, and I will see you all soon.